the question, what is this place that lies beyond Satchitananda, existence, knowledge, and bliss? We know it to do with the presence and uniting those three levels of life together in that presence, or the meeting of stillness and movement. But if you don't mind, I'd tell you a personal anecdote. In the late 60s, there was more than a decade spent in Singapore, and in those days there were a lot of fortune tellers and soothsayers and diviners around. And during those years I had occasion to visit 4 of them. One of them was an Indian man in a loincloth, and he had a little board with all these little stones on it, and he would move all the stones around into the locations they would be at certain times of your life. You had to give him your date of birth, and then he would tell you what was going to happen at those times. And another one was like a Eurasian man, and he read your palm. And then a third one was a Chinese man, and you had to give him your date of birth and where you were born, and he had all his books and he calculated it all out and told you from that. And the fourth one was kind of a Middle Eastern fakir dervish type, with a big black beard and piercing eyes, and I can't really remember what he did, but what these fakir types do. But 3 of them told me that I would have a crisis of the heart, and one told me that I would have a heart attack and die around the age of 46 years old. Another one told me that I should never meditate because there was great danger in it for me. And another one told me that I would arrive at a place where I could walk through a cemetery without being afraid. Now, the 4 of them were correct in a way, because at age 46 I did have a crisis of the heart. But I became totally addicted to meditation. I loved being off with the fairies. And I kind of knew that if I ever went to India, I'd finish up like one of those masks wandering around the streets with matted hair, muttering about God. But I don't know about this walking in the graveyards without being feared, because I can still recoil when a butterfly comes close to me after a bad experience when I was a child, and I didn't really like being on my own with that thunder and lightning the other night. So what could it really mean to arrive at this place where you can walk in a cemetery fearlessly? So it's kind of to do with this question, isn't it? Where do we arrive at when those 3 levels of life come together in that presence? And it reminds me of a story that's been told several times before, but let's see what comes of it today in the place we're at right now. And it's about that another samurai story. It's about this great samurai lord who had a son, but he, of course, as a samurai lord, he wanted his son to follow in his footsteps. But from the earliest age, he recognized that his son did not have the makings of a samurai swordsman. So, being very disappointed in him, he sent him out of the house. He disowned him. But the son, who was called Takashima, he decided that he was going to prove himself to his father. He was going to become a samurai swordsman no matter what. So he sought out the greatest swordsman in the land to become his teacher. But he learned that this great swordmaster had gone into retirement high up in the mountains, and he didn't teach anyone anymore. But Takashima went to the village where it was at the foot of the mountains, where the old swordmaster was said to now abide, and he began the very arduous journey up the mountains to his location. But when he arrived there, he begged the old master to teach him the ways of the sword. And he asked the old master swordsman, "How long do you think it will take me?" "Oh," said the master, "I can see that you have not got the makings of a swordsman. But, if you did, it'd probably take you 10 years. "Oh," said the Takashima, "but if I really practice, if I really do my best and strive and do everything that you tell me to do, how long will it take me?" And the master said, "About 30 years. But Takashima said, but I've got to prove to my father that I'm worthy in his lifetime." "Oh, in that case," said the master, "it'll take you a lifetime." But Takashima begged and pleaded with the master, "Please, please, please teach me the ways of the sword." So finally the old master conceded, and he said, "All right, but there's one proviso. You must not lift a sword. You must not touch a sword." Well, Takashima agreed with this, and he lived with the old master, and the master had him gathering wood for the fire and stirring the rice and cleaning up, doing the washing and things like that. And Takashima got more and more depressed. He was so sad and desolate. And after a year, he was about to kill himself. He was about to commit suicide, when suddenly, one afternoon, as Takashima was stirring the rice over the fire, the old master came up behind him with a wooden stick and whacked him on the shoulders. From that moment on, Takashima did not know from when and what time this stick was going to descend on him. At night, when he was asleep, when he was digging the garden, when he was stirring the rice, the master would come up behind him and whack him, until Takashima's awareness began to become so sharp every moment, alertness, until one day, when Takashima was stirring the rice, the old master came up behind him, unbeknownst to Takashima, but instinctively and inflexibly, he held up a saucepan lid which deflected the stick that was about to descend on his head. "Ah," said the master, "now we can begin the art of fencing." What is it about this place right now that you're talking about? What is this presence that allows us to hear the sounds of the children, have total awareness about it, still be in meditation? Meditation hasn't gone anywhere. What is it about this place or state? How do we recognize it? How do we know that we're there? What is it about this story? Is it 360-degree awareness? What is it about this What is it about this aliveness? Every cell, when we're present, every cell is present. What does every cell do? It's said, and we know that every cell has consciousness. What does this consciousness constitute? Does it require attention now? Does it require focus now? Absolutely not. Why? There's an absence of self-consciousness, self-awareness. In meditation, there's an absence of focus on anything. We're not chanting a mantra or saying an affirmation, just here. What is this place? And could it be, and maybe you can tell me, could it be to do with this prediction? You'll arrive at a place where you can walk in the cemetery unafraid. How would you interpret that?
Because you're like totally aware of absolutely everything.
Yes.
While you're there. And no fear of where you're
No.
going.
No. Why? Because there's no conditioning which says, oh, in the cemetery there's ghosts and there's spirits and there's... Could it be that? Could this place be that we've effaced all of the conditioning that would make the progression that creates fear? So this presence takes on a different meaning, doesn't it? Totally different meaning.
It's like there's no past or future.
There's no past or future. And as you're finding, as soon as we do try to move out there or create some scenario that could possibly happen, where something snaps us back. Because that conditioning that creates that has been erased. Could it be?
Just one of the hardest parts is not reacting to when that thunder goes off so loud.
Yes.
You
feel it all through you.
To relax with that part.
Not.
You've got to
No.
go somewhere else.
Yes.
I don't know, my grandchildren have got this great delight in stalking me.
Ah, I did say, really.
It's the biggest game at the moment. I'll be just quietly doing something and then there'll be a child just pop up.
Oh my. Yes.
I think I'm getting that
You're a samurai master. You're getting your samurai training indeed. Yes.